Hello and welcome to Library Glass, good to see you. Now I've got a fun project here. I've got a piece of rope and I tied one end of the rope to the fence and the other end of the rope to the window of my daughter Matilda's bedroom. I thought it would be fun to get this basket all the way up the rope so I could deliver things to her. Like I've got some food here. Problem is, my push isn't strong enough to get it all the way up the rope. Watch. Just slides back down. And I don't have anything like a stick that would make my push longer to maybe get it up to the top. What I do have is this piece of rope. So can you think of a way I could use this rope to help me get this basket all the way up to that window? Any ideas? Let's see if we can work it out by drawing the problem on a piece of paper. There's Matilda, the window, there's me, there's the fence, there's the rope between the fence and the window, and there is the basket that we're struggling to push up the rope. Well, I suppose I could tie one end of that rope I found onto the basket and then throw the other end up to Matilda, and then she could pull on the rope and that would pull the basket up. But then it might be more fun to loop the rope I found around one of the bars of Matilda's window and then pull from the ground. That way I could put the food in the basket here and then pull down to make the basket get pulled up. All right, here we are. We're all ready to go, I think, more or less. We have our pulling rope, which is just here, and that's going to enable us to pull the basket up the slope of this rope, even though the basket really wants to come down. And more importantly, we have our friend here, Library Lion, who's going to ride in the basket. You're a very brave lion. He does like being in baskets though, so don't worry too much. So we're going to see, Library Lion, what it's going to be like for you going all the way up to that window with this food. He's pretty excited. He's brought his phone along so we can make a film all about it. Okay, Library Lion, you ready? All right, you're going to go all the way up that rope. There's Matilda. Okay, and she'll look after you and make sure you're safe. Okay, off we go. There you go. You go, Library Lion. Good luck. I'm pulling down. You're going up.
Great job, Library Lion. You were so brave. Hey, Library Lion, I know. I have a great idea. Let's send something back to Mr. Sadler, and I know exactly what I'm going to write. Think this is good, Library Lion? Ha ha ha. Mr. Sadler will never be expecting anything like this. Hey, why isn't it going? I know, I'll give it a little push. It still isn't going. What can I do?
What would you do? I'm going to give you a few seconds to think. All right. Let's see if you have the same idea as Matilda.
I know! I need to put in something heavy, and I've got just the thing. These rocks are heavy. There, now I'll give it a little push and it will go.
That's how you got. Oh, what's this? Got a message. Mr. Sadler stinks. I only stink a little bit. That's pretty funny. All right, now it's definitely time for a story. And we have a story all about a system rather like this with a basket with an important delivery. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. Come on, let's go. Okay, so here we are. This is a story I wanted to read to you. It's called The Lighthouse Keeper's Lunch, and it's by Ronda and David Armitage. And you can see from the cover they have a very similar system to the one that I have outside going up to Matilda's bedroom. But they have a problem that we didn't have to deal with. This seagull. Wait and see what happens. Here we go. The Lighthouse Keeper's Lunch by Ronda and David Armitage. Once there was a lighthouse keeper called Mr. Grinling. At night time he lived in a small white cottage, perched high on the cliffs. In the daytime he rode out to his lighthouse on the rocks to clean and polish the light. Mr. Grinling was a most industrious lighthouse keeper. Come rain or shine, he tended his light. Sometimes at night, as Mr. Grinling lay sleeping in his warm bed, the ships would toot to tell him that his light was shining brightly and clearly out to sea. Every morning while Mr. Grinling polished the light, Mrs. Grinling worked in the kitchen of the little white cottage on the cliffs, concocting a delicious lunch for him. Once she had prepared the lunch, she packed it into a special basket and clipped it onto the wire that ran from the little white cottage to the lighthouse on the rocks. But one Monday, something terrible happened. Mrs. Grinling had prepared a particularly appetizing lunch. She had made a mixed seafood salad, a lighthouse sandwich, cold chicken salad, sausages and crisps, peach surprise, iced sea biscuits, drinks and assorted fruit. She put the lunch in the basket as usual and sent it down the wire. But the lunch did not arrive. It was spotted by 3 scavenging seagulls, who set upon it and devoured it with great gusto. "Clear off, you varmints!" shouted Mr. Grinling, but the seagulls took not the slightest notice.
This is an excellent peach surprise, boys. She's a great cook, Fred. Scrumptious lunch, Tom.
That evening, Mr. and Mrs. Grinling decided on a plan to baffle the seagulls. "Tomorrow I shall tie the napkin to the basket," said Mrs. Grinling. "Of course, my dear," agreed Mr. Grinling. "A sound plan."
They'll have to try harder than this to stop us, Bert.
Well, that doesn't seem to be working too well, does it? Now, I'm going to stop there for a few seconds and ask you this question. What would you do to solve this particular problem? Have a little think, and if you do have an idea, keep it in your head and see if Mr. or Mrs. Grinling have a similar idea. On Tuesday evening, Mr. and Mrs. Grinling racked their brains for another plan. "Oh, they're a brazen lot, those seagulls," said Mrs. Grinling. "Brazen indeed," said Mr. Grinling. "What shall we do?" "Our cat does not appear to like seagulls," said Mrs. Grinling. "No, my dear," said Mr. Grinling. "Hamish is an accomplished seagull chaser." "Of course," exclaimed Mrs. Grinling. "Tomorrow Hamish can guard the lunch." "A most ingenious plan," agreed Mr. Grinling. Hamish did not think that the plan was ingenious at all. He spat and hissed as Mrs. Grinling secured him in the basket. "There, there, Hamish," said Mrs. Grinling consolingly. "I'll have a tasty piece of herring waiting for you when you arrive home." Sadly, Fly did not agree with Hamish. His fur stood on end when the basket swayed, his whiskers drooped when he peered down at the wet, blue sea, and he felt much too sick even to notice the seagulls, let alone scare them away from the lunch.
Pretty pussy like a piece of lobster mornay. This food gets better every day, Fred. Are you going to chase us, pussy?
Poor Hamish. "Lack-a-day, said Mr. Grinling sadly. "Meow, meow," agreed Hamish pitifully. On Wednesday evening, Mr. and Mrs. Grinling racked their brains again for a new plan. "What shall we do?" said Mr. Grinling. Mrs. Grinling looked thoughtful. "I have it," she exclaimed. "Just the mixture for hungry seagulls." "Indeed, my dear," said Mr. Grinling. "What have you in mind?" "Wait and see," said Mrs. Grinling. "Just wait and see." "Mustard sandwiches," chuckled Mr. Grinling. "A truly superb plan, my dear. Truly superb." On Thursday morning, Mrs. Grinling carefully packed the mustard sandwiches and sent them off down the wire to the expectant seagulls.
Yuck! Oh! Ah!
On Friday, Mrs. Grinling repeated the mustard mixture.
It's the same as yesterday's lunch, Fred. All right, boys, let's go and have lunch elsewhere.
So on Saturday, up in the little white cottage on the cliffs, a jubilant Mrs. Grinling put away the mustard pot before she prepared a scrumptious lunch for Mr. Grinling. While he waited for his lunch, Down in the lighthouse on the rocks, Mr. Grinling sang snatches of old sea shanties as he surveyed the coastline through his telescope. And this is what he saw.
This is a delicious chocolate eclair, Fred. Now mustard in this lot, Tom. We'll fly back here for lunch again tomorrow, boys.
Ah, well, such is life, mused Mr. Grindling, as he sat down to enjoy a leisurely lunch in the warm sunshine. Now that is quite a spectacular lunch, don't you think? I was going to ask, did any one of you have an idea as to how to protect the lunch from the seagulls that Mr. and Mrs. Grindling didn't think of? If you did, and you want to share them, well, I'd love to see it. Put them in the comments section in the Google Classroom. Well, I hope you enjoyed this story, but I have to say, all those beautiful descriptions of all that gorgeous looking food that Mrs. Grindling prepared, it's made me a bit hungry. I think it might be time for a snack. Come on. Oh, hello, Library Line. You hungry too? Would you like a snack? Because I have to confess, out of all the things I saw in the book, the thing that caught my eye the most was the mustard sandwich. I really like mustard in my sandwiches, unlike the seagulls in the story, and I wondered, do you want to try a mustard sandwich? I know it sounds disgusting, but trust me, it's actually really delicious. So I'm going to put the mustard on first, okay? And the secret to a good mustard sandwich is don't just have mustard. Put a bit of cheese in as well, and you're guaranteed a delicious flavour combination. So let's give it a go. There we are, here we are, the cheese on, mustard, okay. Alright, I'm going to cut it. Library Line, do you want to have the first bite? You're very excited, that's great. Okay, whoop. Cutting on a bit crazy there. Have a little taste. What do you think? Is it good? He really likes it. Delicious, I swear. Alright, that's the end of library class today. Nice to see you. Keep discovering, keep exploring, and we'll see you next time. Bye.